going on, guys? It's CJ, and we are here today to talk about the season premiere for season 13 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. This episode they titled No Justice, No Peace, and it's got a lot to do with Portia and her protesting endeavors and arrests or whatnot. But before we get into the episode, I would like for you guys to please like this video. Also, feel free to comment on this video and go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you'll be here for all the other reviews that I put out. I have watched this series, I guess, or this particular franchise from day one. I've been a huge fan. I've been there through all of the changes that they've made. And also, this season, I guess, will be a little different because we all have been following the whole Nene Leakes quitting or whatnot. It's not her first time quitting, but I do feel like it will be her last. I don't think that she will be back. Do you guys think that she'll be back? But anyway, we'll find out, I guess, eventually. But this episode started out with the girls kind of giving us a synopsis of what's been going on in their lives since we last filmed, and more so, you know, the pandemic that has affected the entire world, along with the social injustices that we've been plagued with. They have talked about how their lives are now very much so different, as are all of ours, I'm sure, with the whole, you know, mask and social distancing, quarantining. These things have really affected all of us, and we kind of get a glimpse into their lives because I'm guessing this season will be based around all of that, because when they started filming, we were really, you know, heavy into the shutdowns, the quarantines, and we'll kind of get a view of their lives as they've had to live them differently, so to speak. But we start out and we see, you know, Portia, she's got personal footage, and she's showing us her, as we've seen her like all throughout social media and other platforms, where she has literally been on the front line, and she has really taken the charge of the Breonna Taylor murder. This, they want justice for her. We've seen her, we've seen Yandy, and other, I guess, influencers or public figures, I should say, out there, along with Breonna Taylor's parents and other activists. And they have all been out there protesting. And if I am correct, I do believe that people are still protesting. We just don't get the media coverage that we were getting all of this past summer. But anyway, we kind of see her, and we know that she's been arrested a few times, and I don't take anything away from her. I'm very proud of what she's doing, and she has really taken this cause, and she is standing in it, and I love to see it. But we start the episode with Cynthia, and she's at Lake Bailey, and she's kind of getting food together because she's having a meal in her driveway. She's trying to find an interesting way to connect with the girls still, but still do it safely. So they're going to be in the driveway, and she invites Candy and Marlo over. And it's funny to see because everybody, you know, are doing air hugs, the whole mask thing, the social distancing. They're trying to be really safe, but they got to get some footage for this season. So we kind of have to make it do what it does. So they are in the driveway, and Cynthia kind of tells us that she spent 4 months in LA with Mike, her fiance, and she is very glad to be back in Atlanta. I guess, you know, being in such close quarters every day, all day with somebody, that is the test. And if you are together, because many relationships have not survived the quarantine, having to be with your significant other for that long, I guess it could be tough on anybody. So that was a test for them, and obviously they passed because we know now that they're married, but we kind of get to see that play out in the season. But Candy, is talking about how she is really trying to use this time that she has left with Riley, because Riley will be going off to college soon. So she kind of is trying to see the bright side of having to be stuck at home with her family and not working, because this will give her a chance to kind of get that time with Riley before she goes off to New York. So Marlo shows up, and it's funny because Marlo had the thermometer and she's checking temperatures, and she has the tape measure because she wants everybody to be 6 feet apart, and she's moving chairs accordingly to make sure. Marlo is not playing with this thing, and I don't blame her, because we all know that the Rona is very serious, and it is taking lives left and right, and it's altering lives left and right also. But they are kind of talking amongst themselves, and they talk about how proud they are of Portia, because, Portia in the beginning, and everybody still refers to the other season where she made the comment about the Underground Railroad actually being a railroad, and that's a joke that she'll never live down. But to see where she's come from then to now, everybody is very proud of her, because she is not just talking the talk, but she's walking the walk as well. And they called Kenya because they hadn't, I guess Cynthia had talked to her, but none of the other girls had really had a chance to talk to her. So she tries to call her, and basically Kenya was like, it's a bad connection, and she hung up. And it probably is. She may not get good reception where she lives or where she was. But we then kind of move over to Kenya, and we notice that Kenya is visibly heavier, and she lets us know that she has gained 30 pounds during this quarantine, and a lot has played into that, and it is her divorce, or her relationship with her husband, Mark, and being stuck in the house. And I'm sure that she wasn't able to go and work out the way that she normally does. So a lot of those things have kind of, and I think a lot of us have put on quarantine pounds, or this, corona weight, or whatever you want to call it, just because we haven't been able to be as active. We haven't been able to go places, even though we could do things at home, but not being able to go out and walk and do the things that you normally do, and you're sitting at home all the time and you're eating. I mean, I have put on some weight as well. But anyway, she tells us, that she can't zip up her dress. The dress that she wore to see the lawyer, she was having a hard time zipping it up. So, and you could tell by the collar that it wasn't zipped up, because the collar was still kind of drooped down instead of up the way it should have been. But anyway, she still looks good nonetheless. Kenya is a beautiful woman, so I mean, a little weight ain't never hurt nobody. But she's on her way to see her lawyer. She was talking to Brandon, and we all remember Brandon, her friend, that got into the fight at Nene's pajama jam or whatever she had. But she was on the phone with him, and she was just kind of telling him that Mark, had been very, very cold towards her. And this last visit that she had to New York kind of let her know, okay, this is done. I need to start weighing my options. I need to go and talk to my lawyer to see what my options are. So that's what she's doing. And she gets to the lawyer, and she just kind of tells him, how things were bad at first, and then they started getting better because they sought counseling. Then COVID happened, and once COVID happened, Mark started dealing with his businesses failing, and so it seemed like he started taking out his anger on Kenya, and so things just kind of went completely left, and Kenya is over it at this point, and she just kind of wants to know what can she do, because they don't have a prenup her lawyer didn't really seem too concerned about the material things, but he did, however, seem concerned about, the custody of Brooklyn, baby Brooklyn. So I think that's what is most important at this point, because I don't think that he thinks that Mark can get too much from her financially, but it could be an all-out war when it comes to the custody of the baby. Kenya has the baby all of the time, so Kenya feels like she needs to be in her care. And they, they talk about that, but she just kind of wants some time because I guess she wants to figure out the route that she wants to go. And the lawyer is basically telling Kenya, because Kenya, she does kind of go into this, like, I guess, I don't know, this reserved place or this quiet place when it comes to Mark, because we know Kenya to be very outspoken. Kenya has never been one to be at a loss of words. She always has something to say all the time. But when it comes to Mark, she does tend to cower down, and she is not that bold woman that we know her to be. And I think her lawyer even knows that and sees that, and he just kind of has a real moment with her, I guess, with the cameras out of the room, but of course they're still mic'd up. And I think that people often forget, okay, just because the cameras are out, you are still connected to a sound device and they can hear what you're saying. But he has a real moment with her. He just basically tells her, Mark's failures are his failures. You do not need to take them on as your own. That's on him. What happened to his businesses has absolutely nothing to do with you. So don't feel like his failure is your failure. That's on him. That's his L, and he needs to take it. You need to do what's best for you, and don't let this man get you down. And he gave her, real advice there, and you can tell that her lawyer, he does have her best interest at heart, and he ought to, because I'm sure she's paying him a pretty penny. But then we go over to Portia, and Portia, again, she's on her way to a Breonna Taylor protest, and she gives us a little history on her family and how her family were victims of, racial incidents with the KKK in the past, and how, she has educated herself on what's going on with this case, and she's doing everything in her power to fight for justice for Breonna Taylor. And we all know, you have to have been under a rock if you don't know about the Breonna Taylor case that happened in Louisville, Kentucky, how she was murdered in the middle of the night. I guess they were executing a warrant and they were at the wrong place, but they came into the place and she and her boyfriend were asleep, and they came in and didn't announce themselves, and they were shooting, and Breonna Taylor was shot and killed by a police officer. And so people are still fighting to this day for justice for her, and there have been charges brought upon that people don't think are sufficient, and it is just, my heart really does go out to her family who have lost their child, their sister, their daughter, whatever she was, to anybody, girlfriend, anybody. And again, my heart does definitely go out to her family. But Portia has really been on the front line, and we have seen her time after time. And that's one thing about it. Nobody can say that she is not doing her part and some, because she definitely is. But then we go to Candy, and we see the Tuckers. They're outside washing Riley's car. And we see, Ace, we see Blaze, baby Blaze, and they are just the cutest little things. So we see Riley, and Riley does look a little different. We all know that Riley had a little work done. She's 17 at this point, and I guess she was wanting a new look. So I believe she got a nose job, and you can also tell that Riley is really starting to blossom. Like, in her personality, because she was very, you know, reserved and soft spoken, and now she comes with a little more boldness, and she has that confidence, and it's very nice to see her kind of coming into her own. And she is getting ready to go off to college. I think she's going to NYU, and her mom says that she's going to be a lawyer, so that'll be really cool to see her, you know, live her dream as that. But Candy tells us that she talked to Riley's dad, and Candy put him on child support, I guess, and he is like way behind. And so with Riley going off to college, and I don't think that Candy needs the money at all, but I do think that she wants him to be responsible, because this was, you know, a life that he helped create, and he's out here driving Bentleys and living life, and he's not helping support her. And now she's getting ready to go off to college. So I think Candy, she could do without the money. I'm certain that she could, but she does feel like he needs to help pay, and he owes her that child support, so he needs to pay it. I mean, that just is what it is. And she said he went off on her. He started calling her all kinds of ghetto and like cussing, I guess, because she asked for the money. And he probably told her that she doesn't need the money, so he doesn't know why she's coming at him for the money. But that's your child too, and you need to pay. I mean, it's just that on that. But Riley seems to completely have moved past it. We've seen in the past that she was open to having a relationship with her dad, but he kind of flaked on her every time. And that broke Candy's heart, to see her daughter disappointed and sad that her dad wasn't there. And so, you know, she feels like maybe if he starts showing this financial responsibility, that it will show Riley that he cares, and maybe they could have some kind of relationship. Todd just feels like his actions are what's going to show Riley that he cares. That money probably won't mean anything. So he's going to have to show her through his actions that he actually cares, and that may possibly make her more comfortable with him. But Riley is telling the both of them, you know, it doesn't even matter. I've fostered the relationships that I need in my life, and I'm doing just fine without him. So she's not really pressed about it. So then we go and we see Kenya. We go back to Kenya. She invited Candy and Cynthia over to her house, and she kind of takes them out back to show them the latest project that she's working on. And she's having a pool done out back, and she would tell us that Mark never wanted her to get a pool, but since Mark's not there, she's gonna get a pool. And Candy just tells them how since this pandemic, you know, she hasn't had a chance to have her housekeeper around, so her house is pretty much going to crap. And she's having to do the laundry for the whole house, and it's just, you know, she's not getting it done. I mean, it's just a mess. And, you know, Kenya is also trying something new. She's actually trying out a nanny for Brooklyn. We know that Kenya has her child all day, every day. And I guess she's about to start trying to get back out there in her endeavors. And so she's going to need somebody to care for the baby. And so she's trying out a nanny. They tell her, you know, they start talking about Mark, and she tells them about her trip to New York. And they just basically let her know that they don't like the way that he talks to her. And they really do think that, you know, she needs to get out of that relationship. They kind of say that in not so many words without saying it, but they all feel like Mark is not good for Kenya, and Kenya needs to just move on. And Kenya, I've noticed that she has not shed a single tear. I think she is over it. I think that he has talked crazy to her for the last time, and because now she doesn't even get emotional about it. She used to cry, you know, when she would talk about how he would disrespect her and how she wants her marriage to work. But now she's not saying she wants her marriage to work, and she is also not phased by his disrespect. I think she is just over it. She wants out. She just wants to make sure that she has custody of her child, and that's that on that. So then we go to Cynthia, and Cynthia's home. She's at Lake Bailey with her assistant Chandler, who tells her that she needs to kind of come into the 21st century and she needs to stop using her. She has a planner or a calendar that she writes her events or she writes her schedule down in. And he tells her, if this thing burns up, your entire life is in here. So it's going to burn with it. So you need to move this stuff over to some sort of electronic platform where you can, if something happens to this, it's backed up and you still know where you need to be when you need to be there. But Mike's there too. And they kind of talk about how, quarantining together has definitely been a challenge, but it has brought them closer together. They then, discuss the wedding that was 10-10-20 that passed here in October, but it was upcoming, of course, when this filmed. And she was kind of bummed because they told her that she was going to have to reduce the number of guests there. And Cynthia was really, really upset about that because now it seems like life is good for her and money isn't really as much of an object as it was when she was with Peter. And so she kind of wants to show people that this is my life now versus how it was back then. And I think that has a lot to do with it because they do give us a little flashback on how they were really strapped for cash when she was married to Peter. And did y'all see that she's suing Peter for, I think it's like 170 grand he owes her for some investments that he was making into one of the bar ones or something, one of the restaurants that he has opened or was opening. But Cynthia wants her money, as she should. But I just think that she really wants to be able to show people what it was then versus what it is now. Mike does not really seem concerned about that. He's fine with it being reduced because he's not doing this for people. He's doing this for Cynthia. He loves Cynthia and he wants to marry Cynthia. And he kind of tries to get her to see, okay, it doesn't matter if it's 3 people there or 300 people there. The reason we're there is for you and I to become one. And, are you doing this for the marriage or are you doing this for a wedding? It's kind of the question he poses to her. And I think she's doing it for both. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. She wants to kind of flex because people for so long, I mean, that other wedding to Peter, they seemed to be in love enough, but we saw that not lasting. But anyway, we go on to Portia, and Portia gets arrested. Basically, she gets arrested in Kentucky when we saw, and she was held, I think, with Yandy and I always forget the other lady's name, but they were locked up for 13 hours and they were released. And she just says that, it was life-changing being incarcerated or being locked up with these women. They all kind of bared their souls to one another. And I guess it created, bonds. And she was like, that was just the charge I needed. I'm in this, that's not stopping anything. And so she is ready to go. And also we see Candy and Todd. Now they're still riding the wave from the success of the Old Lady Gang restaurant, or OLG. And so they've decided to open a steakhouse. And that's pretty much where this episode ended. It's just the beginning. I think just like in Potomac, where the fight was the I guess, the focus of the whole season. I think this bachelorette party with this stripper gate, that's gonna be the whole, I guess, focal point of their season as well. So we'll see. I hope they don't do that, but we'll see. If I forgot anything, y'all know, leave it down in the comment box below, and I will see you guys for Potomac, which I will probably have up tomorrow. But again, don't forget to like this video. Like I said, comment, and I'll see you guys again later on. Peace out.